The Philippine Islands, located in Southeast Asia, are a home to a rich and diverse culture of 100 million people. The country itself consists of 7,107 islands, but how did the archipelago come to be populated? Welcome, and today we will tackle about our history. Join me as we journey through time. A look into pre-colonial Philippines. From the early human migration, the emergence of societies and early cultures. Understanding the pre-colonial history of the Philippines is crucial in comprehending the country's heritage, culture, and identity. So without further ado, let's begin. The pre-colonial history of the Philippines is an important aspect of a country's heritage. It tells the story of the people who inhabited the archipelago long before the arrival of foreign powers. The Philippines is believed to have been inhabited as early as 67,000 years ago, during the Pleistocene epoch. The earliest known record of human settlement in the Philippines dates back around 30,000 years ago, with Negritos, a group of dark-skinned hunter-gatherers arrived from the mainland Asia. The origins of the Negritos in the Philippines are still subject to ongoing research and debate among historians, anthropologists, and archaeologists. It is believed that the Negritos are descendants of the early human populations who migrated from Africa to Southeast Asia via land bridges. Some scholars also believe that the Negritos could have been part of the original human population of the region who later migrated to other parts of Southeast Asia and the Pacific over time. Other groups of people migrated to the Philippines, including the Austronesians and the Polynesians. Recent genetic and archaeological studies have shown that Austronesians were one of the early settlers of the Philippines. The Austronesians were believed to have migrated from Taiwan to the Philippines around 4,000 to 6,000 years ago. They were a seafaring people who had advanced sailing technology which allowed them to travel long distances and settle in remote islands. They brought with them advanced knowledge of agriculture, pottery, and metalworking, as well as their language and culture which could go on to influence the development of Philippine society. Some scholars believe that the Polynesian people, specifically from Samoa or Tonga, also played a role in early settlement of the Philippines. The Polynesians, a subset of Austronesians that have developed their own independent cultures and identities, were seafaring people who migrated from the Pacific Islands to the Philippines. This theory is based on the discovery of pottery shards in northern Philippines that closely resembled Polynesian pottery. The theory suggests that the Polynesians people may have arrived at the Philippines around 2,000 years ago and introduced their pottery making techniques to the local population. The early Austronesians had a rich oral tradition. They passed down stories, myths, and legends from generation to generation. These stories provided a glimpse into the beliefs and values of early Austronesians. The Austronesians who settled in the Philippines were primarily agriculturalists. This shift from a hunter-gatherer lifestyle to a sedentary lifestyle marked the beginning of agriculture. They developed sophisticated agricultural techniques that allowed them to grow crops such as rice, sugarcane, and coconut. This allowed for a surplus of food which to be traded with other groups for goods. The development of the agriculture led to the emergence of societies in early cultures. Trade networks were established within and outside the Philippines, connecting the archipelago to other Southeast Asian countries. The established trade networks were an important part of early cultures. They traded goods such as pottery, beads, and textiles with China, Southeast Asia, and even as far as India. The emergence of societies and early cultures also led to the development of early political and social structures. The Austronesian developed social and political structures that were based on kinship and hierarchical systems. Barangays or village communities were led by a datu, a tribal leader who held a political and religious authority. The datu is responsible for the welfare of his barangay, settling disputes and leading the communities in times of war. Social classes also emerged with a ruling class consisting of the datu and his family, while the commoners performed labor and provided military service when necessary. The early Austronesians who settled the Philippines were influenced by neighboring cultures such as China, India, and Malay archipelago. This influence can be seen in the language, religion, and cultural practices of the Philippines. The Austronesians who settled in the northern part of the Philippines were influenced by Chinese culture, who introduced Confucianism and Taoism. They adopted Chinese customs and practices such as ancestor worship and even the use of chopsticks. The Austronesians who settled in the southern part of the Philippines were influenced by Indian traders who introduced Hinduism and Buddhism, when the Malays brought Islam, which also spread throughout southern Philippines. The rise of complex societies and chieftain marked a significant shift of the political and social landscape of the Philippines. The early kingdoms and empires that emerged in the Philippines were characterized by the consolidation of political power under a centralized authority. The Kingdom of Thunder, which emerged in the 10th century, was one of the earliest and most powerful of these kingdoms. Other kingdoms included the Kingdom of Manila, the Kingdom of Butuan, and the Sultanate of Sulu. The rise of complex societies and chieftains also brought about economic and social transformations. The growth of trade networks led to the development of specialized industries such as weaving, metalworking, and shipbuilding. Social classes became more pronounced, with the elite class gaining more power and wealth. Slavery also became prevalent, with prisoners of war and debtors being enslaved. The expansion of kingdoms and empires led to the conflicts with neighboring groups. Warfare was common during this period with the use of advanced weaponry and military strategies. The arrival of Chinese traders and later European colonizers further complicated the political and social landscape of the Philippines. The arrival of Islam in the Philippines is believed to have happened around 13th century through the trade networks between Southeast Asia and the Muslim world. Arab Persians and Indian Muslim traders and missionaries played a significant role in spreading the religion. Islam spread first in Mindanao and the Sulu archipelago, where Muslim traders and preachers established communities. The arrival of Islam had a significant impact in the socio, cultural, and political landscape of the Philippines, particularly in the southern regions. The spread of Islam led to the formation of sultanates in Islamic kingdom to the Philippines. These political entities were ruled by sultans who held both political and religious power. Among the notable sultanates were the Sultanate of Sulu, which was established in the 15th century and covered parts of present-day Sabah, Malaysia, and the Sultanate of Maquindana, which was established in the 16th century and covered parts of present-day Mindanao. The sultanates were characterized by centralized political systems, the use of Islamic law, and a strong emphasis on trade. The Islamic period in the Philippines saw the rise of distinct Islamic culture, which fused elements of the indigenous cultures with Islamic beliefs and practices. Islamic art, which included calligraphy, tales, and agriculture, flourished during this period. The Maranao people, who were predominantly Muslim, were known for their elaborate and intricate brassware, which featured intricate Islamic designs. Islamic influence can also be seen in the architecture of mosques and other Islamic structures, which incorporated local architectural designs and materials. The pre-colonial Philippines had a complex and extensive network of trading routes that connected different regions of the archipelago as well as the neighboring countries. Maritime trade played a significant role in the development of Philippine societies and their integration with other parts of Southeast Asia. Among the notable trading routes were the Silk Road, which linked the Philippines with China and other parts of mainland Asia. And of course, later on, we see the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade, which connected the Philippines with Mexico and other parts of America. Trade in pre-colonial Philippines was not only about the exchange of goods, but also the exchange of cultural ideas. The Philippines served as a cultural crossroads with different cultures and traditions met and interacted. For example, the Chinese brought their language, religion, and cuisine, while the Indians introduced the writing system and their own beliefs. The interaction of different cultures led to the emergence of a distinct Philippine culture that views indigenous Chinese, Indian, and Islamic elements. Trade was a significant source of wealth and prosperity in pre-colonial Philippines. The abundance of natural resources in the strategic location of the archipelago made it an ideal center for trade. The Philippines exported commodities such as rice, cotton, abaca, and gold. and important goods such as textiles, ceramics, and spices. The profits from trade were used to finance the construction of public works such as roads, bridges, and irrigation systems. Trade also stimulated the development of local industries such as weaving, pottery, and metalworking. The wealth generated by a trade also allowed for the patronage of the arts and development of vibrant cultural scene. The pre-colonial history of the Philippines is a rich and complex tapestry of cultures and traditions. Those traditions were involved in trade with neighboring cultures which influenced their own. The history of the Philippines spans thousands of years and is marked by the migration and settlement of different groups of people, the emergence of societies and cultures, and the rise and fall of kingdoms and empires, and the spread of Islam and the formation of sultanates. The Philippines was a center of trade and commerce with its strategic location in Southeast Asia, facilitating the exchange of goods and ideas among different cultures. The pre-colonial period has had a profound impact on contemporary Philippine society and culture. Many traditional practices and beliefs continue to be observed and passed down through generations despite the influence of Western culture and modernization. For example, indigenous groups continue to practice animism and maintain their traditional ways of life, while the Muslim minority of southern Philippines has preserved its distinct culture and religion. The influence of pre-colonial heritage can also be seen in contemporary art, literature, and music. While the arrival of the Spanish colonizers of the 16th century brought about significant changes to the Philippine society, the legacy of the first settlers can still be seen in the customs and traditions of the present-day Philippines. That concludes exploration of the pre-colonial history of the Philippines, the early human migration to the emergence of societies and early cultures. We have learned about the Negritos, Austronesians, and the Polynesians who settled in the Philippines and how they developed sophisticated agricultural techniques, established trade networks, and developed early political and social structures. You have also seen how neighboring cultures such as that of China, India, and the Malay archipelago influenced the people. And that's all for the video. Thank you for watching.
Lola, pwede niyo po ba kaming kwentuhan?
Oo nga po, Lola.
Oo naman, mga apo.
Alam niyo po ba patungkol sa panahon ng Espanyol?
Oo naman, apo. Gusto niyo ba kwentuhan ko kayo?
Sige po, Lola.
Marami ang nangyari noong panahon ng Espanyol. Hayaan ninyo at ikwento ko sa inyo.
Ganun pala ang nangyari.
Ngayon ay alam nyo na.
Opo, Lola. Marami po kaming natutunan.
Mabuti naman kung ganun. Kung gusto niyo pang malaman ng iba, ay huwag kayong mahihiyang lumapit sa akin.
Opo, Lola. Maraming salamat po.
Hostilities broke out on February 4th, 1899, after 4 American privates.
Some patrol killed 3 Filipino soldiers in San Juan, a Manila suburb.
We need to move around both sides. We don't let them across our border, sir. Yes, sir. I'm in position, sir. I'm ready, sir. Okay, hold your position. Copy, sir. May mga Amerikano. Para huwag kayong matakot, bayan natin ito. Tara, sugudin natin. Sugod! Stop! Stop! Stop!
In 1998, the Spain ceded its long-standing colony of the Philippines,
Meanwhile, Aguinaldo issued a proclamation of war against the United States and
proclaimed the independence of the Philippines in January 5, 1899.
Emilio Aguinaldo was named president of the rebel government. Aguinaldo retreated up north and shifted to guerrilla warfare that organized insurrection effectively.
Ended with the capture of Aguinaldo on March 23, 1901, by Ars Brigadier Jancuria Funston Persona personally led an audacious mission into the mountain of northern Luzon on April 19, 1907.
Aguinaldo told Filipinos to surrender, and on July 1, 1902, the Filipino-American War was being ended.
Year is 1942. The tranquil Filipino village is disrupted by the arrival of Japanese soldiers. Five villagers gather in the central meeting area as Colonel Kato and his Japanese soldiers enter.
Your land belongs to the Emperor of Japan. Obey, and there will be peace.
Our spirit bear the band, but will not burn. We will resist.
In a candlelit room, the five villagers, including young farmer named Diego, strategize and plan their resistance.
Chico, come here. Yes, Elder Warrior. Jigo, we must protect our culture. We're going to pass down our stories. We are the guardians of our heritage.
Months pass, and the tension escalates. Diego and the other villagers witness the struggle against the occupiers.
Our fight is not just against invaders. It's for the soul of our nation.
The five villagers join the resistance, learning guerrilla tactics to fight against the Japanese.
time to stand up for our ancestors and our future. Ahoo!
Now, the 5 villagers are skilled resistance fighters, launch a daring raid on the Japanese camp.
Hey!
They dare challenge us. Crush their rebellion.
Our sister, guide us! Remember who we are!
The 5 villagers, working together, successfully reclaimed their village, but the scars of colonization remain.
Ways to preserve our cultural identity as a Filipino. Preserving cultural identity as a Filipino is essential for maintaining a rich and diverse heritage. This can be achieved throughout various means, encompassing both individual and collective efforts. Embracing traditional practices foster cultural education, promoting indigenous art, and leveraging technologies are key strategies. Embracing traditional practices. Language preservation. Actively used to promote Filipino language to ensure their continuity. Celebration of festival. Participate and support local festivals that showcase tradition, dance, music, and rituals. Culinary heritages. Pass down traditional recipe throughout generation, encouraging the preparation of authentic Filipino dishes. Foster cultural education. Social program. Integrate Filipino culture into the education system, incorporating history, folklore, and arts. Museum initiatives. Support and visit museums that showcase Filipino artifacts, art, and historical exhibits. Cultural workshops. Organize workshops to teach traditional crafts, dances, and practice to younger generation. Promote indigenous arts. Support local artisans. Purchase and promote handmade crafts produced by local artisans, preserving traditional craftsmanship. Blend tradition element with modern art form to create temporary Filipino art that resonates globally. Leverage technology. Digital archiving. Use digital platform to archive and share traditional story, music, and art for wider accessibility. Online platform. Promote Filipino culture throughout social media, blogs, and other online platforms to reach a global audience. Virtual experience. Develop virtual experiences such as online exhibit or virtual tour to showcase Filipino cultural heritage. Community engagement, cultural engagement programs, encouraging cultural exchanges program to strengthen ties with other communities and share Filipino tradition. Local initiatives, support local initiatives that aim to preserve and promote Filipino culture such as community events and projects. Legislative measurements, cultural protection laws, advocate for and support legislation that protects and preserves Filipino cultural heritage. Recognition of indigenous rights ensures the recognition and protection of the rights of indigenous communities, safeguarding their unique cultural practices. In conclusion, preserving Filipino cultural identity requires a multifaceted approach that involves individual communities, education institution, and government support by embracing tradition, fostering cultural education, promoting indigenous arts, leveraging technologies, and engaging in community initiatives. Filipino can ensure longevity and richness of their culture heritage for future generation.